Hey, Primetime family, welcome back. It's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. It is December. Hard to believe, but we are right in the midst of Q4, so I hope you're doing great with your sales. November was a great month for me, and so I am going to go over with you the top 10 most expensive and most profitable items that sold in my eBay store. It's always fun for me to look back at those prior sales. As I say, it motivates me for the next month going forward, and I like to share some insights about the items that I found to help you in case you find these things when you are out and about going sourcing. So let's start at number 10 and we will move our way back up to number 1. So number 10, this is one I actually showed in my prior video. You remember at the very beginning, I showed you this in my trunk. I was heading over to FedEx in that snowstorm because I wanted to get it over there. And this is that instant electric baseboard heater, which you could see right here. The box that I showed you is right over here. Now it had the styrofoam inserts in it, which made it great for packing. All I had to do, as I explained in the last video, is just basically tape up the sides of it and put a shipping label on the box. When you're doing that, by the way, if you're going to use the actual box to ship in, make sure you let the person know that in your description section so they're not expecting that it's going to be boxed within something else, which would make absolutely no sense for this type of item, especially given the size of it. But you can see here, one of the things that I tried to do is to show it actually working. That's a great thing to do to help increase the chance of the sale. So you really want to show those electric grids being heated up there. You can see that orange color right there, just really showing it warm up. And then, I just showed all different sides of it and stuff like that. So, these are just all different angles and images that people like to see. And, if it comes with instructions, they're kind of crinkled, but you show those too. But I had checked the comps for this when I was at that estate sale. If you remember, it was a big pickup day in the area. And so I saw this in this box just laying out there. And I said to the guy, does this thing work? And he's like, yeah, it works. He goes, you can take it if you want it. I just don't want it anymore. It's big, taking up a lot of space. So I checked the comps. The comps on eBay said that it was going for around 120 with multiple watchers, but it ultimately wound up selling for $80. So that's the price I had it for at the time. If I took a best offer, I will let you know that. So I sold it for $80. It cost about $30 to ship it through FedEx home delivery because this was going from New York to California. And so when you have a big, heavy, bulky item like that, and it's going from coast to coast, or it's going from one distance to a distance that's very far away, regardless of where you live, please check into FedEx Smart Post or FedEx home delivery, because the difference was huge. If I was to have shipped this with priority mail, if you were just rigid and just said I could only ship through priority mail, well, that would have been a $58 or $53 shipping price. I mean, it was crazy. I think it was $58. So it was like almost $25 to $30 difference, like almost double to ship it through USPS. And it didn't matter if it was USPS priority or USPS parcel post. So again, just think of that for your big heavy items going far away. Now I got this for free, remember, so it was all profit. In the end, I wound up making about 40 to 50 bucks out of this. It was really easy to snap the photos, and again, mailing it was a cinch, and it was really just easy money just laying there. But so that's why I tell you this is, if you see these big bulky items like this, if you test them out, they work, great, list them. And worst case, if I took this home and tested it and it didn't work, I wouldn't be out anything. It just it didn't cost me anything. So look for those big free items like that. Sometimes you could do really well with flipping them. So we're going to move on to number 9, and this one I had shown recently in my Facebook group, and I had shown this at a prior estate sale, which is where I sourced it for just a couple bucks. It's a very famous Nike poster. This is the Michael Jordan Wings poster, and has a little famous quote underneath it. This one here is the 76 by 24. Now there was another size that came out at that time in 1989. As you could see here, I mentioned it in my description section. There was a 23 by 72 inch version. So, you know, carry a measuring tape with you if you want to check measurements and stuff like that. But the key with this one here, and I'm going to zoom in on it right there. If you ever see this poster around, to know that it's a first edition from 1989, which is hard to find, is that the Nike symbol that you see there, it's going to be gray. If it is a multicolored swoosh there, that is going to be a later edition. So that is really the main way that you tell. There's other little things, but that's just the quickest and easiest way to figure it out. Now you could see here, and I've mentioned this before with posters, you see here how it has some damage on the side of it as well. There's actually gouges taken out of the side. With posters, you know, if they are really vintage, valuable, hard to find posters, people will still pay for them, even with these little pieces of tape on the corners, little gouges, rips, tears, and stuff like that. People will still pay up for them. You can see here is another corner as well. And I do advise doing this, is taking pictures of your corners of the posters, especially if they have damage to them. So that's a good idea to do. I mean, if it's a perfect mint condition poster, you could just say that. You don't have to take pictures of the corners, but in an instance like this, it's a good idea to do that. You could also see here, I like to verify for the buyer the dimensions, and so I also take a picture with the measuring tape going across, so they could easily zoom in and see that. You don't have to necessarily do it in both dimensions, but one dimension at least, whatever the longest one is the one that I would suggest doing at a minimum. So this one I did take a best offer on for $85. I had people lowballing me on this one like crazy, but I held firm and eventually got the $85 out of it. So for just a few dollars pickup at an estate sale, this is another great flip, just shipped off in a mailing tube. If you're curious about shipping things in mailing tubes that are posters, I have a bunch of videos about that at this point, including one recently that I did, which shows you how to find these poster tubes for cheap and or free. So that's just a few videos back if you're interested in that one. Okay, now I promise for people who've been watching me for a while, this is the last time you're going to see one of these. If some of you are probably like, oh no, not another one of these trains. But that's part of the point of me showing you these over and over when I made that score. For people who are new to the channel, go to the video entitled Picking Under Pressure, where you could see me pick up a whole big lot of these trains, plus the estate sale contents for a total of $432. I sold the first set for $600, and then everything after that was just add-on profit. This one here sold for the price you see, $89.99. Really a beautifully brightly colored train, really nice, in the box, just terrific condition. You could see when you have a train in the box, one of the things I would suggest for your first photo is to take a picture of the box with the train in it, so you could show the person that's looking and scanning through for that first thumbnail photo that you have both of these things. Because what happens is, if you have the box and the train and you just put a photo up like this, some people are going to scroll by and think you don't have the box. They're not even going to read the text that might say that you have the box. So that's why I like to do that. And then later on, you could just take them apart and you could show individual pictures, of what it looks like. And notice the different angles. I did a nice white background for a lot of these. And also, you could see here I put different box angles as well. So the LGB G-sized or G-scale trains, they are really like printing money. They are just amazing products. And I believe I have proven that to you over the last 3 or 4 months, given the number and the amount of dollar signs that I've gotten for these trains. It's just been an incredible score. It's one of my best finds of the year was this train score. Now, another incredible find, and you can see here we got an offer that just came in for some jeans. So yes, I do sell some clothes too. Those are lower priced items that I don't highlight in this type of video, but those are bread and butter types of items that that do keep me going. So, but anyway, we'll get to that one later. This is the other amazing score. Probably, I would say, my best score of the year. I know if Chris is watching this from Cernak's Connection. By the way, started a YouTube channel. Go check him out, Chris Cernak. I just tagged him in my Instagram last night. Great guy, knows a lot about reselling shoes and all sorts of other cool items as well. And he's got a great eBay store. But he really got excited when I found these. It's actually this video as kind of a testament to how much I really enjoyed this find. At the bottom of basically of a house, there was a cellar area, or a basement, and then there was a crawl space, and I crawled back there and I pulled out all these vintage Star Wars toys. That's actually the highlight video, the featured video on my channel. So I'm going to keep that up there for a while until I come up with something else that I feel is worthy of replacing it. But that really was a lot of fun. This is the X-Wing fighter. It's one of, if not the most famous basically Star Wars vehicle in the line here. This is the one that Luke Skywalker's in. He's battling Darth Vader and stuff like that in it. The interesting thing about this is it's still sold. I wound up selling this one for $100, not the $140 that you see there. I priced this one super high, and the reason why I priced it very high, even though there was no established market rate that these would actually go for around $140. You can't just look at what it previously sold for. You also have to look at what your competition is like. And at the time that I listed this, there was really not many people who had one like this that had a box in decent condition. So even though this didn't work, the lights didn't work, the sound didn't work. Now, that doesn't mean someone who's skilled in repair can't get them to work, and maybe someone like that purchased this. But the box is super critical for collectors, and this box is in decent shape, which is why, and it has a little distortion you could see there on the bottom, but overall, I mean, it displays very nice, and that's a key thing. Collectors, especially toy collectors, they love to display toys. Even comic book collectors, they love displaying their comic books. I mean, people love to display things. They're proud of it. I mean, hunters display their, they're catching the wild and stuff like that. I mean, people just love to display what they collect and what they found, what they gathered. And so that's an important thing to remember about boxes. And notice, if you're not using white backgrounds, please look at the power of the white background for a lot of these photos. Now, I don't use white backgrounds for everything. Sometimes I'll use a wood background because I think the wood sometimes gives a nice framed look. I use that with my comic books. But for items like this, the white background really, really helps sell it. It really helps to show that you're putting extra time into putting together a presentable listing. And people are going to make inferences about you if you put up these types of photos. They're going to infer, well, this person puts a lot of time into their photos. They probably are careful with how they ship the items as well. So those are things that buyers will take into consideration. I use a program called PhotoFuze. It's Photofuze. It's a free program to use. I've done a video on it before. Just type in white backgrounds at my YouTube channel and you will see me demonstrate the product. But this is a really great $100. When that $100 sale came out, I said, you know what, $100 for this. I was already well into profit for it. I said, I'd definitely take it. I wasn't going to take less than $75 for it. So when the $100 came in, again, I was very happy. And yet another Star Wars toy gone. Now, there's still a few Star Wars toys from that collection that are left, but we are running out of them. Most of them have sold at this point. So, but it has really done well. And this is another one. This is the last one. That's a Star Wars toy that I'll show you in this video. But this one here sold for $114. It's the Rebel Armored Snow Speeder. I actually showed this when I did my interview with Michael D. French from Retro Blasting. That's actually his favorite vehicle. And on this one, the lights did work. And so you could see here, I actually show them working right there. That's very important. Again, people want to see it. You could say it works all you want, but showing it just gives people added confidence in making the purchase from you. And again, you could see there, displaying the box and all different angles really help. Showing the hatch opening, things like that are real. Showing the bottom, all these sorts of things. I had to clean these up. These were a little dirty and stuff, but they really came out nicely and really, really happy with the end product. So that's another $100+ sale. All profit from this is just a really, really great score with that Star Wars stuff. So moving on to some non-Star Wars stuff, we're now into the top 5. So this one will be number 5. I talked about this recently, but now I get to show it to you. These are the Dragonlance books. Dragonlance, my absolute favorite fantasy series. I read these all the time when I was a kid. I remember getting on my bicycle and riding over to Walden Books, for those of you who remember Walden Books, and picking these out when they were paperbacks, and then they have hardcovers of them as well. But you could always identify them real easily because it's just going to plainly say Dragonlance right there, right up top. It's going to be in the front of pretty much every single one of these. It's part of the Dungeons and Dragons series, but they're great books. Now, even though they had a signature inside all but one of them, and I showed an example of that right here. So this guy's now famous because he's on the YouTube channel, but they still sold. So but you just want to disclose something like that. They sold for $125. I got them at a library bag sale, the last day of the bag sale, so it was $5 a bag. I crammed all these into 2 big giant bags, and they ship out media mail, so it didn't cost a lot to ship out. So I wound up making about $100 off of this, because again, they sold for $125, sourced them for $10, and shipping didn't cost that much because it's media mail. With the display, you could see I do something very similar to my comic books when I ship them. When I list them, is that I show them individually in little chunks like this, but I also do that initial overhead display to give people a sense of the volume, and I also show the backs sometimes. People want to see what the back cover looks like, so that's the front covers right there, but the back covers here as well, I also show those. Because with books, especially when they have dust jackets on them, the backs could get pretty messed up. So that's something that I want to give people confidence about. And that's something, by the way, that I would look for when I buy on eBay. I look for backs sometimes if they're valuable books or valuable issues. So sometimes think of how you buy and what you like to see, and make your listings like what you would want to see if you were a buyer. Put yourself in the buyer's position. And then I also give another picture here to give a sense of scale, which is really dramatic when you're dealing with hardcover books like this. You could see how tall, it's almost like a giant ladder of books that you're climbing. And what you want your buyer to do when they come across something like this, you want their experience when they come over to be like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh. That's how you want them to feel. So they're more likely to pay that higher price. I mean, they're going to spend over $100. You've got to find a way to convince them to do that. So that's Dragonlance. Be on the lookout for those. The paperbacks sell well also, especially if you could find the originals, but they sell best in bulk in addition to the hardcovers. If you had these hardcovers individually, they're tough to sell. So keep that in mind. You really have to build lots together to move the Dragonlance books for the most part. Let's go over here to number 4, and I just mentioned comic books, and these are some comic books that I put up for auction. I don't usually do auction, but these are all comic books that were damaged that I could not sell individually. And while these may look like I just kind of carelessly, threw them on the table, I didn't. They were all meticulously planned the way I placed them. You could see there I had Batman right in the beginning. I did a separate video on this, so I'm not gonna go and beat a dead horse with this. You could see that a few videos back that I did one where I talked about this strategy of getting rid of damaged items like comic books and stuff and lotting them together. And then like I did with the Dragonlance books, you could see here I just stacked them up and I showed how many there were. But I started the bidding at $9.99, and you can see here we had 42 bids, and these sold for $137.50. So for these older books, make sure you're putting the ages and the eras that they are. I showed this. I gave you the whole breakdown of what's Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, Modern Age, that sort of thing, because that's what people will search for. If you just spend a bunch of time trying to cram in a bunch of comic characters, you're going to run out of room. People are searching more for these general terms. So that's really a great deal. And by the way, I have if you happen to catch this on December 3rd, I actually have an auction going on in my eBay store. The link to my eBay store is in my description section or on the main Primetime Treasure Hunter page right up top here. You could see, or you could click that. I have 132 comic books up right now. They end on December 3rd, somewhere around like 9, 10 o'clock at night. They're currently at $9.99 for these books. Now, they all have most of them have some degree of damage on, but it's a lot of books for $9.99, and there's only 5 watchers on it. So if you're interested, go and check that out, because you may be able to make an awesome deal for yourself with all those books, and that's with free shipping on it. So you may really make out. If you're interested, check out that listing. 132 comic books. All right. Now, speaking of comic books, comic-related items, this is a comic book magazine. I've talked about this before. It's Mad Magazine. Very popular when you could find the ones. I've talked about them before from the 70s and the 80s, and you saw me over the course of this year. I wound up getting so many Mad Magazine collections that I actually have duplicates. So if you saw a prior video of mine and you saw this middle finger image, which, again, I do to attract attention, and I put all of the comic magazine covers that I think would draw the most attention in that first row. So The Godfather, Jaws, The Middle Finger, Darth Vader, Star Trek, Esme, if she's watching this, Thrifty Esme. By the way, another great YouTube channel to go to is Thrifty Esme. So go check her out. She's awesome, and she's a lot of fun. You'll get a kick out of her. Tell her Primetime sent you. But she noticed what I was doing here. She messaged me when she saw a prior video where I showed the Mad magazines, and she liked the strategy. Basically what I do is I sell these 50 at a clip. I start the bidding at $199.99. I shouldn't say bidding because they're not auction. I start the price. Buy it now, best offer, and these wound up selling for $185. They sell very well internationally, by the way. They don't always sell internationally, but there is a nice international clientele for Mad Magazine comics. So if you find them, and you've seen me in my haul videos, I come across them time after time, and again, I pick them up. Even if you just find 1 or 2 for $1 or less, pick them up and start making piles. I'm telling you, by the end of the year, you're gonna probably have a pile that you can wind up flipping. Maybe it won't be 50 bucks, but that tends to happen when you buy out collections. But you should still have something, you should be able to work with and flip and make a nice profit. Here is the Blazing Combat series. This is from 1965. I've talked about this before. I've showed this in a prior Bolo video with Don, the auction professor, who, by the way, I will be doing a live show with Don if all goes well, assuming there's, no little any issue that goes on during the day to prevent it. But we have plans to do a live show on sourcing. We did one before on that, different sourcing locations. So come on by for that one. That's going to be Wednesday night on the 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And go check out Don the Auction Professor's channel, where I have talked about this before. It was either on his channel or on mine. We do some joint videos together, but Blazing Combat is a great military series, and it is almost impossible. It is so hard to find the first issue, which is this one here. You'll often come across 2, 3, and 4, but this one, it's hard to find. And even though the cover for this one is detached, as you could see over here, it is a detached cover, and even though you could see that this cover is really scuffed up, it's got, some gouges taken out of the spine and stuff, it doesn't really matter so much. It's just so rare. Sure, if it had the cover attached, it would go for more money. If it didn't have these stains and stuff and scuffs, it would go for more money. But it's not going to prevent someone from buying it. Now, I will tell you, and I think I mentioned this before in a prior video, that on the day that I sold these, I was probably doing a haul video and I mentioned it, but these sold for $200. So you see it says $209.99. I sold them for $200. I would not go below that number. And I talked about this last night about knowing market value. When people keep trying to lowball you below your market value, I talked to you about that with the 2 plain sets that I sold for $50 and $35 yesterday. If you can do it, stick to your guns if you're not really pressured for the cash. If you really need the money, by all means, go make a deal. But for these, I was not going to go below $200 for them. And I had comic book dealer after comic book dealer come in and try to get these for me for $60, $70, $80. And if you're wondering how I know they're a comic book dealer, it's very easy. They basically send me offers with a username that says Bob's Comic Store. Like, who are you trying to get? It's so obvious. Then you could just go click on it too, and you could see everything is just tons of sales that they're making of comic books. And, don't get me wrong. I mean, some people probably say, well, what does it matter who you're selling it to? Well, it doesn't really matter who you're selling it to per se, and especially doesn't matter if you're just trying to liquidate stuff and you're just trying to blow stuff out. But if you're purchasing stuff at a low dollar amount for the purpose of flipping retail, then you don't want to go sell it to somebody else at a wholesale level. You want to sell it at that retail level. So there is a situation where it does matter who you're flipping it to, and that's why I'm buying it, is to sell it for retail value. So just keep that in mind if you're in niche areas, that you will have other niche dealers who are trying to buy from you for a low amount, and it pays to just wait for that collector to come along and purchase it for the price that it's worth. And that leads me to my last item. The most expensive item that was sold in my eBay store in November is this item right here. This is just such a beautiful piece. It's a really hard to find piece too. It's this big poster that Jorge Perez wound up doing, a famous comic book artist. He's pretty much the godfather now of comic book artists. He's drawn practically every comic book character you could think of, including every character here for the 30th anniversary poster that came out in the 1990s to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Avengers. And so he drew over 100 Avengers characters in here. It's just really cool. And especially nowadays with the popularity of the Avengers and Endgame and the Marvel movies and stuff. I mean, people just love this stuff. They eat it up. And so it's hard to find. It is signed by Jorge Perez, which you can see right down here. I kind of highlighted. I think I probably highlight the signature a little bit more at a different part here. Let's see. There it is. It's always good to highlight and get a nice close-up of the signature so people could really tell. Like if you look at that, you could see and you could just tell by some of the separation of the ink that that's an ink signature and it's not a print signature. Where the heck did I get something like this, which by the way sold for $250 within minutes after I sold it because of how I marketed it, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But I wound up getting this at a private pick estate sale haul. This is through my advertisements that I put out on Craigslist, where I tell people I'm looking for certain types of items like comic book and comic book related items. And I wound up just getting my best score ever. I've talked about it before, but it was 4 truckloads over 4 days of just nonstop art. And I don't know when I'm ever going to get to the end of this haul. It was just amazing. It just keeps on giving. I actually forgot I had this. That's how crazy it is. I was going through some posters, and if Carol's watching this, Carol Cedrone, then one night I was looking for her Bruce Springsteen poster. I was tearing through my posters to find it. I came across this one. I said, oh my God, I got to get this listed. So I listed it the next day, and I put it on, I did a little video when I was taking the photos of it, and I put it on Instagram, and I told people about it. I gave a nice close-up like this. I said to people, if you're interested, I have this in my store. Within minutes, a person who saw it on Instagram came over to the eBay page and just basically made me the offer of $250, and we had the sale in like 2 seconds. I have nothing into this at this point. I mean, I'm well into profit from that collectibles collection. So $250 sale was great. The person received it, left positive feedback, and just absolutely loved the item. It was really a great piece. So just kind of passing that on to you. This is not something you're going to find really at garage sales, but my point in telling you that story is sometimes you have to go out there and you have to make your own deals. You got to make your own sourcing opportunities for yourself. Don't just wait for everything to come to you. It doesn't work that way. You've got to, I mean, sometimes it does, but if you want to kind of separate yourself and go up to like another level, you got to start working opportunities for yourself. Those opportunities are out there. You just got to go out and you've got to grab them. So I hope you enjoyed these different items. Tell me what your favorite one is. I love to hear that. So just put that down below in the comment section, along with any other comments or questions. Remember, for programming, I have the interview, and well, not really an interview. It's going to be more like one of our back and forths, and they're kind of fun. They're not kind of fun. They're really fun, the shows that I do with Don. So we usually crack up at various points. So come on by to that tomorrow night, or tonight if you're watching this on December 3rd. So that's going to be Wednesday at, again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, I should say, actually, sorry, I messed that up. It's Tuesday. I'm totally off because I actually took the day off today, which is a Monday, due to a snow day. So let me clarify that. So it is going to be on December 3rd, Tuesday, Don the Auction Professor show on my channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern oh God, I messed that up again. This should be a blooper show. At 9 p.m., my regular scheduled time for Primetime Live, I am going to do an interview with Wade from Wade's Venture. So just to repeat, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be fun. That's my first return guest to Primetime Live, so it's going to be a lot of fun. If you love storage units and storage auctions and just catching up with Wade, he's just done so many amazing things. The guy's got over 60,000 subscribers on his channel. So that's, again, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you hit that like button, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. As you can see, we are inching ever closer to that 10,000 subscriber mark. I need your help to get there by the end of the calendar year. I go back and forth every day as to whether or not that's going to be possible. We're kind of like on the edge of whether or not that could actually work out. So I need your support for that. So if you are watching, if you're a first-time visitor, please just take a moment, just go over to the subscribe button, hit that, and I'd really appreciate it. That will help get these videos out there more and more so more people could see them. And make sure you come to my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. We have over 13,000 people in there and lots of seller events going on there throughout the month. It's a lot of fun. Someone just made $350 in our Support That Seller Sunday event. And prior to that, the prior week, someone made over $500 in that Support That Seller Sunday event. We've got others there as well. You're going to have to come by and check it out if you're not a member. And come by my Instagram account. I'm putting on content there that's unique to the Instagram account. That's at prime_time_treasure. I'll see you back at the next video, everyone, which will be tomorrow night with Don. All right, we got that right finally. See you later, 7 p.m. Take care.